The president will depart Abuja on Saturday for N'Djamena, the capital of Chad Republic, for security, refugees, political and peace talks. President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to participate in the extraordinary session of the Conference of Heads of State and Governments of the Community of Sahel-Saharan States, CENSAD, chaired by President Idris Deby. What does this mean to the bloc in the face of insecurity, insurgency and all manners of crime? How will the bloc ensure trade among member states as part of its mandate? Data feeds are coming through in one place simultaneously on all our social media platforms, channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Follow us right now on m.channelstv.com and on Facebook as well. We've got all our platforms and social media covered. Be part of the show. Tweet at Gimba Umar CTV. Use the hashtag State of the Nation. Let's get your thoughts in. The Nigerian Air Force has rejected the allegations that only innocent civilians and not bandits were killed in a recent airstrike conducted by its Air Task Force for Operation Diran Mikia in the area attacked in Zamfara State. It explained in a statement that most of the locations attacked were within the Rugu, Subugu and Gagara forest general areas known as armed bandits' hideouts. What more could have been done by the security agencies and indeed the Air Force to ensure a doubtless operation targeting the bandits in Zamfara and other states as well, who have killed over 3,000 people in the past couple of weeks? Justice Okona Bang of a Federal High Court in Abuja has granted a 30 million naira bail to Bature Umar Mazari with one surety in like sum. The former Director General, Small and Medium Scale Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDEN, is facing a 104.7 million naira alleged fraud charge. Will the process in courts be long drawn, as seen in some cases in the past? It's prime time here in Lagos, and this is State of the Nation. Hello everyone in Nigeria and the rest of the world. I am Gimba Umar and this is State of the Nation. We begin with the President's expected departure for N'Djamena, Chad for security talks with his counterparts from Mali, Sudan, Somalia, Central African Republic, who will meet in the Lake Chad Basin for the extraordinary session of the Community of Sahel-Saharan States, CENSAD. Abubakar Ahmed is a security consultant with vast experience in the northwest part of the country. He joins me from our Abuja studios. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the show at this time. Also, Oladende Rio is also a security expert. He joins me in our Lagos studios. I want to thank you both gentlemen for coming on the show at this time. But let me begin with you, Mr. Ahmed, in our Abuja studios. And let's begin with Mr. President. Is the President's one-day trip to Chad to deliberate on security of member states of CENSAD a strategy that you think would speak to the challenges of bandits seen in some quarters as migrants from other countries facing these challenges in the northern, in your area, especially in Zamfara State? Do you think that this is something that will at least come up with something for you?
Well, Mr. Gimba, thank you for having me. But let me start with a preamble. The preamble is of course, understanding the state versus citizens relationship. The basic foundation of this relationship is the provision of security and what they call it, providing security and welfare of the citizens. Where this fails and it becomes a problem, that is one. Now, two, I look at it this way. One, yes, the security challenges facing the Northwest is across border thing it cut across is beyond the Nigerian border. It is certainly true. But also permit me to say that what I would have expected, first and foremost, with the return of the president to the country, and given the rising cases of banditry activities in Zamfara, parts of Katsina, I would have thought Mr. President would deem it fit to visit these areas first and see by himself the extent of the devastation and console with those people killed. By and large, I believe quite certainly that you see, there is the need for empathy, to sympathize and empathize with some of those killed along the land. Much as there is a need for Mr. President to be engaged beyond Nigerian borders and finding solutions. This is quite, there is a need for synergy between Nigeria and its, what do you call it, neighbors. This is not Nigeria's problem alone, it's a cross-border problem. But for us to be seriously engaged, we need to also carry the citizenry along in this process, and which of course involves empathy, showing empathy to the situations of the citizens.
So isn't it enough that the president has, as a matter of fact, ordered through the Inspector General of Police to stop mining activities in Zamfara State as a way of stopping those killings that we saw they were running out of hand? Is that not one good step the president is taking? But you want his presence. What will his presence do in Zamfara now?
What? Pardon?
What will the presence? What will the presence of the president have? What difference will it make after stopping through the IGP? After stopping through the IGP of mining activities that was thought to be the spinner and the reason why those bandits are having so much attacks on Zamfara State, so much so that about more than 3,000 people have died from the last count.
Yeah, yes, I quite agree. You see, what I'm saying in this case is that yes, I'm aware of course, Mr. President sent in the acting IG on the spot assessment of the situation. Well, it is also not out of place for the president to also be seen to be engaged, console, and confidence building in the minds of the citizens. This is very important. This is very important. I am not in any way discountenancing the fact that the president, don't get me wrong, I am not discountenancing the need for Mr. President to engage our neighbors in addressing the security challenges. But what I'm seeing is that the president, having been absent for quite a while now, having returned back to the country, during his absence, quite a number of places were killed, people were attacked, people were killed. I also need it. This is my own point of view. I also see it in the context of, I also see it that there is a need for the president to have gone to these places and sympathize with the people.
Okay.
To build confidence.
Okay.
I have seen.
I get that point from you, but let me bring it back here in the studios with Mr. Ario. What elements are we playing with? Because this seems to, I remember we've had discussion about this in the eve of the rise of this kind of crime that we're seeing just across the country now. But what is at play now? Are we seeing a different nomenclature, totally, well, security-wise, from what we talked about the last time?
Thank you very much. If you remember, I tried to isolate the platform, from which all these attacks are coming. We spoke of the terrorism from Boko Haram insurgents. We spoke of bandits, of course, kidnappers and armed robbers. And I explained how they all operated, given the differentials, okay? Now, as it is, what I can say again is this. With so much action on the northeast, perhaps Boko Haram is shifting base to the northwest, okay? And then they're using Kaduna and Zamfara as test points.
But they're not called Boko Haram. They're called bandits.
Well, better they call them bandits. Remember I told you that in terrorism, the organization of terrorism is hardly united for over a period of long time.
Are you saying that these are Boko Haram elements still carrying out this banditry work?
There will always be breakaway factions and all of that.
Is it Boko Haram that are now being called bandits?
For lack of identity, it's not impossible. How can anybody convince me that the gold in Zamfara has been mined for so long, running into billions of naira, and just getting to know now? if it was true, some people must be in jail now, awaiting their days in the court, because that was theft of national wealth. Okay? Nobody had the right to go to Zamfara and be mining illegally gold found on the ground, which of course belongs to the federal government by virtue of the constitution. And they are now saying this has been so, which calls for question. Somebody was saying again that today they have a diamond in Kaduna, and should also expect an explosion. The question is, these people have been mining as we are being made to believe. So how come suddenly there's a problem? The natives were collaborating with them. They were getting paid for all of these things. So what has happened to create the cracks we're now seeing, and they're now being killed in very large numbers? Then the savagery that they brought to bear in these killings is very common to terrorism. So we will be deceiving ourselves to begin to see this from a very myopic view of calling them bandits. No, I refuse to accept that.
Mr. Ahmed, what do you think about Mr. Ario's submission? He feels that at some point, some people were benefiting from this illegal, or should I say illegal or illegal, it depends on which side of the fence you divide, you belong, of this mineral resources in Zamfara State. And it has gotten to a point that it has become sore now. And this has been done way back. The mining activities is not new. So why then do we have this resurgence? You are an expert and you understand that terrain. What exactly is happening?
I think part of the problem is need to be the narratives in understanding the problem in Zamfara or the Northwest largely, but particularly while we have what they call upbeat activities of the insurgents or bandits is in Zamfara, and we need to understand it in the context of leadership. You see, when we say the objective of modern nation state is the contractual relationship between the citizen and the state is providing security. Now, it's a process. The society, resources, institutions, and leadership. And now, why leadership? Leadership is the key ingredient of providing key into those processes and assuring in the attainment of the objective of the state. Why the leadership is likely porous, wanting, then it could hardly be able to galvanize the process of what you call establishing synergy in these processes towards achieving the objective of state of providing security and welfare of the citizens. Now, what am I trying to say here? The essence of my argument or my postulation here is this. If you look at the context or the history of this problem, started, although it has been there, but then the killings started, especially in 2011. It's been there. And what we saw was what? The attempt to trivialize this issue to one, stated by the leadership of especially Zamfara State to sit down with the so-called bandits and grant them so-called amnesty. And in the process, with the collapse of the amnesty, we saw the essays to the security by the governor being in cahoots with some of this, what do you call it, as alleged anyway. And I was made to understand that he is presently under detention, under the state arm of the security arm of the state. So you can see clearly what I am trying to say in essence is that the disconnect in leadership, especially in galvanizing some of these processes towards providing security and objectives of the state. So unless and until we understand, we understand the failure of leadership here, we are no near to arriving at the solutions to this problem.
I don't know about any detention. Those are strictly your words, so I'm going to put a disclaimer on that. I don't know about any of that, but what I know is that a 10 billion naira intervention fund for Zamfara State has been approved by the Senate in the wake of these killings by these bandits. What, in your view, should be the fund's target? What should it be targeting?
Okay, I think it's a welcome development that the Senate, in its own wisdom, deemed it fit to dedicate this fund towards addressing the problem in Zamfara. And what I think this fund should be addressed towards is, one, the problem of widows.
Okay, I'll get back to you on this so that you can finish up on that question, because we have to go on a very quick break now. My apologies, but we'll be back after these messages. Join us again.